Okay, colleagues, this is something I have showed you before. We have done it, I remember, in Katima and Rundu, but unfortunately I don't see anybody doing it. And there are 10 of these things which were bought, and they should be in your fields, and then you should record the graph. I will show you also in a different clip on a daily basis. So this one I'm repeating it now so that even I'm not there, you can still do it. So there's two things you start with. You keep this, you remember it's tensiometers. There's a small one and a big one. I kept them in water, especially these are older ones. This is actually my own, not the one we procured, but you have 10 of this at your the trainer's office, and we tried one already. So this is the bigger one, and I kept it in water so that the water must go through here. So, and that must be done a day before. You could do that a day before, like 24 hours. You leave it in clean water. And then when you are ready to use it, you just pour it out completely, and then you put in new water in. The water we put in, it's water which has been standing for some time, and I put some food coloring, but that is not really needed. It was it came with the box you got, so I diluted it. You can use distilled water or standing water. Standing water means with no air in. So I put the liquid in from this bottle, and then I do like this just to push it down, so you get the water as a continuous flow. We don't want to have any air in here, so it's actually like a vacuum. Because what happens once this is in the soil, and the soil is very wet, and you have hardly any reading here, but the moment it's dry, it sucks out the water, it creates a vacuum, and then the reading here will increase, which I will show you in a minute what that means. So the more dry the soil becomes, the higher the reading will become. I think this is fine, there's no more droplets. Add a bit more, bring it up to the top. You close this, you don't want any air in, you close it slowly, not overturning it, just that it stays in place like that, and then you let it rest a bit. So this is the other one. So I have two tensiometers. So why do you think there's two? There's two. One pair was 10 of those pairs were bought. Well, the first one, it's actually to tell you when it gets dry, when the roots are struggling to get water. So when the reading here starts going up, and I'll come more into detail in that, but let's say it's going beyond 30, then irrigation is needed. But this one, this is especially like for shallow, most vegetables, cabbage and lettuces, shallow rooted crop. So you're in the root zone, but this one is below the root zone. So meaning, if you irrigate and the water reaches here, we are below the root zone, and this one should be actually around 10-20. And if it's showing wet, you went too far. And what that means, when you went too far, and you have been, especially fertigation, first you are wasting water, but you are wasting also fertilizer. So this is actually to control your water and also your inputs, so that you don't waste. So that's why you have normally two, and you can the same, you have it also in orchards, but for horticulture, and we're going to use them in the greenhouse as well. But this should be at least a group of two should use this in each, and you share this in groups of two, and you start using it in your portfolio. So we are going to put them in my own garden, since I'm not allowed to go to the center. One thing I didn't mention, when you carry those things, always keep them in water. You don't want them to dry. You take them, the bucket like that, to the field. So we don't want this to dry out. And if you don't use them, like I have this one, which I'll show you in a minute for what it is, but they come with a plastic which you cover. If you don't do that, then you use it in a container like that, which I have used before. And I'll put this in the ground, you want to have something like this is a riser pipe, 20 millimeter. You mark, we did it already here, see how deep this should go in the ground. You don't take a shovel and make a hole in the ground, because between here and the soil there must be tight contact. It must be wet and a tight contact. So when we put it down here now, you want to put it somewhere, and this can be used for dripper lines or micro sprinklers. This is a micro sprinkler setup. If the ground is soft, obviously you can just push it through like so, like I did now. See how it works. If you can actually now see, it's getting a bit hard, so I don't want to destroy this thing. So I have marked it. I put this in here, and then I go and hammer it in. Tip is. So that is now for the small moisture meter, and I can put it in like that, and this one lies on top. But you can see there is a bit of air in here, so I'm going to mix a bit of soil with water to let it flow in here. Slurry here to make sure that the contact is nice around it, and you compact it a bit, because you want this thing to be as much as possible touched in the wood zone and contacted on the side. Okay, so now I'm putting the longer one, so the marker is a bit higher, it goes a bit deeper. You can see it's much deeper, and if you have water going that deep, you have left the irrigation on, and that's not what you want. Around here, I usually leave it in the ground, because if this is touching air, or if your riser pipe is too big, then it's not gonna work. So it's fine. So have a look at the readings here. You get them, both of them. So remember, this is the short one, this is the deeper one. So while you have it on the, you set it up anyway, it will not work the first, let's say you have to leave it for 10 hours, you come and do the reading in the next day. When you look at those readings, let's say it's a sandy soil and it's around below 10, there's no need for irrigation. If it's clay soil, it can go up higher, even up to 20, 30, because the clay soil has a bigger water capacity and it holds the water actually, while the sandy soil doesn't have holding capacity. So the tension, because it's called a tensiometer or irrigometer, but also tensiometer, it holds it tight. So now when there's a lot of water, it's nothing hold back and it's working. So let's say 20% of your water is depleted. You reach on a sandy soil 20. Then you go up to 30, you must irrigate now in the sandy soil. In a clay soil, it's when you reach 40. When you reach 40 on a sandy soil, 50% of your water is depleted and your plants will not be able to get that water out anymore. And on a clay soil, you will reach that one when you go to 70.